All right, welcome back to another Money Not Math conversation. I'm here today with Alison Bernier. Thank you so much, Alison, for being my guest. I'm really excited to, one, learn more about you, get to know you more, and hopefully provide value to those who take the time to watch and or listen to this conversation.
I am pleased to be here. A little bit out of my comfort zone, but we all learn something by leaving our comfortable little box once in a while.
Absolutely. If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you, right? So today we are talking about, I know you're an entrepreneur in many ways, but today we're talking specifically about Bernier Properties, LLC, correct? And anything else that you decide you want to bring up is completely up to you. But before we kind of jump into that, I want to just open up the floor. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you want the audience to know? And kind of what's on your mind as far as how you would introduce yourself to people.
Well, perfect. I am Alison Bernier. I graduated from Oakley High School in Oakley, Minnesota. Lived there my whole life. After high school, I attended Bethany Lutheran College in Mankato for pre-law and nutrition.
Okay.
Obviously, two very different things.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I was lost as a teenager and young adult. Didn't know much about myself, didn't have much world experience, but quickly found things that made me tick after high school. With that being said, I married my high school sweetheart. We moved to Fargo after we got married. We started our family there and eventually realized that Fargo was not the place we wanted to raise our family. We wanted to be close to my husband's parents, my grandparents, my parents, aunties, uncles, all those people. So we moved back to Oakley. And as time went on, realized that we were driving to Thief River Falls more often than not for my husband's work and for appointments and whatever. So we relocated here in 04, 05. It was a good move for us. We acclimated to the welcoming Thief River Falls community very quickly as part of the wrestling program, and we just felt very welcome. Joan and I have 4 children. Trisha, our daughter, is married to Tyler Champ. Our son Noah, married to Jamie McDonald. Joshua, married to Kylie Praska. We have 9 grandchildren. We are so blessed with those little ones. They give us a reason to get up every day. And then we lost our son Jacob November 7th of 2011. That is me in a nutshell.
9 grandkids, huh? And I believe I don't know all your kids that well, but I know Tyler and Trisha decently well. Are there a couple of them are very, very recently born, correct?
2 in March.
Okay.
2 weeks apart.
Yes.
So our first 2, Amelia and Chase, were also 3 weeks apart.
Oh, wow.
And then the rest in between there, and now these 2 March.
It's like they're all coordinating.
Yes, it's so good.
Have you had a chance to babysit both babies at the same time yet?
No. But I'd be up to the challenge, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you covered a lot there, and I appreciate the overview of going from pre-law nutrition, which is I've never heard of anyone doing those 2 things at the same time. It's an interesting aspect. And you mentioned something in there of saying you found things very quickly that make you tick. Would you mind elaborating on that a little bit?
When I got married, moved to Fargo, Joan and I had the opportunity to be resident managers of a brand new, I don't remember, it was 32 or 36 plex apartment building.
Okay.
And the idea of having rentals started to tick in my head.
Okay.
But at the same time, it allowed me to be home with my kids, and raise my family. And both of those things were very important to me.
Okay.
So I think the pre-law part of me, the paperworky, kind of the structure of that, and then the nutrition part where I could be home and be with my kids and make great meals, and it all came into play for me.
That's awesome. That's really cool that you're able to meld it all together. And with that, I don't remember what your 3rd child does, but 2 of your children at least are entrepreneurial spirited.
Everybody, yes.
Are all of them?
All of them.
So because you have plumbing, you have real estate, and you have
Joshua is also in the plumbing field.
In the plumbing field. Okay, so
yes.
I think I've asked you this off camera before, but if you don't mind me asking you again on camera, what in your opinion drove, or what was your guys' focus point as parents that created a culture that gave them permission or encouraged them to be entrepreneurial spirited? Because in my mind, being an entrepreneur, there's a lot of opportunity, but there's also a lot of risk. Whereas on the flip side, there's nothing wrong with going the Fortune 500 route and getting a job and working in a business in a large company structure. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's a different mindset. So I guess maybe is there anything specific that you can share that you felt like you guys created that culture that kind of encouraged them or gave them that permission and confidence to go out and try and go at it?
I think it goes a generation before us even.
Okay.
My husband's parents were very much entrepreneurs, owned a cabinet shop, built custom cabinets.
Cool.
My mother-in-law had her own little like home decor shop. My dad milked cows, they farmed. He also had a business here in Beaver Falls, Tier Salvage.
Okay.
My mom was always, active, like she had at one point a company that sold women's health products. I think that it's just like a culture for us. And I think the idea for our kids that having their own allows you some opportunity for travel without having that clock to punch. But they also realize the risk of not putting in the time and doing the time. But then you also have the reward of it's mine, it's my own business.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's very cool. And with that, one of the other things that I think one of the best pieces of advice I got was from Shane Zutz, and he was talking about there's no such thing as work-life balance for the super successful or the business owners, things like that. It's called work-life integration. How do you integrate your life and your family so that you can both be successful and have a good relationship with your kids? How do you feel like you found that in work-life integration to be able to have 3 kids, 9 grandkids that you obviously are deeply adore and love being around and being an entrepreneur?
That is a very good question. I'm going to go back to, you look at the generation before us. My parents always attended all of our sporting events. Like you did what you had to do. You got up earlier, you worked later. Family is just very important. My grandparents were always active in our lives. Like grandma came to everything, I think you learn it from generations before you. And maybe if you didn't learn it, you have to decide what your priority is. How do you make that balance? And I guess a lot of times it's probably getting up earlier or working later if you're an entrepreneur.
Right. So getting up earlier, working later, and prioritization is the 3 big things I heard there. So I'm guessing it might not even be in the vocabulary of your family what 9 to 5 means or 8 to 4. It's kind of like, what is that?
Right. If we do have those days, we're like, wow, what in the world is that?
Yeah, that's cool. Well, good. I really do appreciate that. And we can always circle back if we missed anything, of course, but I also want to be respectful of your time and make sure we kind of get through all of the topics that are at hand or on your mind. So getting a little bit more into the business side, what haven't you said already about your business that you'd like to say or to kind of introduce us to? What is Bernnier Properties LLC? What's your guys' goals? How'd you get started? What's that look like for you?
Well, I think I alluded to that I got a taste of it as a property manager or a resident manager when Joan and I were first married. We actually created our LLC in, I think, 2010 when we purchased a duplex here in town. That was our first thing as property management, property owners. And when we purchased it, there were actually tenants in it.
Okay.
And we felt very blessed that we had tenants right away, didn't have to do anything. 3 weeks in, we quickly learned that those people were not taking care of our property and had just magically disappeared over the 4th of July weekend.
Oh.
So having planned on being at my grandparents' lake place for that 4th of July, I had to come home. And I remember thinking, wow, nobody told us that we had to do this when you own a rental. So we learned a valuable lesson right away that, you're going to need to be flexible and prepare for some of those things if those things happen. So packed everybody up, came home from the lake, spent the whole weekend cleaning, redoing the rental. And it just taught a valuable lesson right away, that
Absolutely.
it's not just the checks come in the mail, I guess, so to speak. So
You're
there's a
aiming
lot
for passive income, but it'll be
It-
passive.
no, no, a lot of it is elbow grease.
Yeah. And sometimes what we think is an opportunity ends up being a risk, or sometimes what we think is a risk ends up being an opportunity, right? So the renters seem like a great thing at first, and then it's like, oh crap.
Yeah,
To set the stage a little bit, so this was 2010,
I think it was 2010.
and at that time you had how many kids and how old were they that you had to pack up and leave 4th of July weekend, where most people, I'm guessing, were not concerned about leaving in the middle of the weekend?
Right. We had 4. Trisha was a junior, or yeah, Trisha was a junior. So we had a junior, a sophomore, a freshman, and like a 6th grader, which were all very, very angry.
Yeah, so imagine that. In case you're considering getting into the rental business, there are pros and cons, and everything that she's worked really hard to achieve. There were plenty of sacrifices along the
There
way.
were.
So that's 2010 or 11. You bought your first one.
Yeah.
Then where'd you go from there?
Then we went slow and steady.
Okay.
We flipped a couple houses in town.
Okay.
Because that seemed like there were some opportunities there that arose for us. I would say by 2014, 15, our daughter Trisha had become a real estate agent, and she was very eager to make some sales to support her own young family. So we paired with the kids and bought a couple of houses, flipped them, sold them, and then we bought some property out in Smiley Township,
Okay.
which we turned into a small development out there.
Oh, nice.
That has become one of the things that we're very proud of, that we were able to get some families to move into homes out in the country and raise their families there.
Mm-hmm.
Probably more of a labor of love than a financial decision for us, but again, just some great learning lessons for things. And then we paired with my parents in another property here in Thief River Falls that we have, which kind of came out of Furrier Properties.
Okay.
So
how many total properties do you currently own that you rent out?
Units.
Or units, yes.
Yes, we have, let's see, 12, 13, 14, 15, about 16 units.
And how many properties did you flip during that time, or in the last basically 14 years?
3, I believe.
Okay.
And we built 5 houses.
And you built those yourself, or so you managed the build, but you contracted it out, or do you guys have your own contracting license, or how did that work?
It's a combination. My husband would be the general manager, and then we would bring in contractors.
Cool.
And in between there, we would do whatever we could. The painting, the insulating, the blow-in, the poly, some flooring, whatever we could do to decrease the cost.
Absolutely.
To help a family get in.
So again, you were building passive income, but it was very active work to do it.
Active. Yes.
I think sometimes a lot of people see the passive, like how much wealth someone has because of their passive income, but they don't always necessarily recognize the amount of work it took to build that said passive income,
Right.
and how long it takes to build up passive income. There's a reason why it's called passive, right?
Yes.
It doesn't just fly through the door. So with that, I think it's really fascinating that you have that background in multiple different areas, because I know a lot of people who've done one or a couple of those, but to build, flip, and own and rent out, that's cool that you have that background. Have you found one to be more successful, or one you'd be more excited to repeat moving forward than the other 3?
I would do any of those on any given day.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think it just depends on the opportunity that presents itself. I have a strong faith, and I believe God opens doors, and you have a decision whether you're going to walk through them or not. And I also believe that sometimes God shuts doors. And sometimes even then you have to decide if you want to open that door and take a peek.
That's well said. I appreciate that. What has been the biggest lesson that you've learned from your business and entrepreneurial experiences?
Nothing comes easy. And that you really need a team. It takes people that believe in what you're doing
Mhm.
to work side by side with them. Communication is so key. You have to be able to lay out a timeline. You have to have people that understand where you're going with the project. It's not just to start it and then not have an end in sight. I remember one time we were getting ready for a build, and I told the contractor I wanted it done in 75 days, start to finish, from the day we broke ground till the day that we moved in. And he said, let's see if we can do that.
That's awesome.
And we did it 75 days from
Wow,
the day we
that's
broke
amazing.
ground till a family moved into a house. It seems unrealistic, but when you have a goal,
Right.
I think that people can get on track and get on board.
So it's one, establishing a specific goal, but also two, being willing and able to communicate those expectations to set them, right? Because if you would have never said something to the contractor and just thought it, or behind the scenes complained about it, it might have taken 150 days or 2 years.
Right.
But that's a very, very important distinction between, don't just set a goal, but you need to be able to communicate that goal, not only to yourself and your partners, but to people doing the work,
Right.
potentially helping you with that work.
And then know that it's realistic.
That's awesome.
Like it has to be tangible. Like, how are we going to meet these deadlines, and what do we have to do to meet those deadlines?
I appreciate you sharing that. That's awesome. So within that, I believe that, and I don't want to, please disagree with me if you don't agree with what I'm about to say, but I believe one of the most important things about running a business and being profitable is understanding what makes sense for you to spend your time on versus what makes sense to delegate to other people. Right? Because some work just, not that you're too good for it, but just from, I'm good at some things and I'm not good at other things. So for me to spend my time on those is probably not efficient for the company as a whole. How do you guys kind of weigh through that? Because it sounds like you've done a lot of work yourself, but you still hire some things out. Like, where's that line for you, or what's that decision-making process look like for you to figure out what do you do versus what do you delegate?
My husband's very good at making those decisions.
Okay.
He knows his skills. And we also know that there are some very, very talented tradesmen in our area. And you know what they're capable of and what time period that they can get a job done.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to take you 3 times as long to do it as someone that you can pay, that makes no sense whatsoever. Some people do things for a hobby. If you love to, whatever, let's just say you love to do trim for a hobby, that's perfect. But if you're looking to sell the trim that you hung in that house, your hobby might not be as well refined as a skilled tradesman.
Yes, that's well said. I appreciate that. Thank you for that answer. I appreciate that. And maybe the answer is the exact same, and if it is, that's okay. But I'm going to ask the same question I already asked, a little bit more specifics on financials, because this is money, not math. The work I do is to try to help provide value when it comes to financial planning specifically. What is the best financial lesson that you've learned through your experiences?
I would say that you need to have a great accountant. You need to have a great financial planner. You need to have a great tax person, and you need to be willing to sit down with those people on a regular basis. It takes a team.
Absolutely.
I've also been very blessed that my husband and I are on the same page financially when it comes to family first, faith, family, and then finances. And if you can kind of weave your way to make those 3 things come together, I think you can be a success.
That's awesome. I'm biased, and I will admit that outright, but I love your answer for so many reasons. First of all, my core values are family, faith, financials, fitness, friends, and fun. So the first 3 words are exactly what you said, a little bit different, but pretty much the same thing. Second, ironically, I was doing my coffee talk this morning, and I read an article from the AARP that said 94% of people over the age of 50 believe you should have a financial plan, but only 21% actually do.
Oh,
1 in 5.
That's shocking.
Yes. So the fact that, again, I know I'm biased, it's the work I do, so of course I believe these things, but I appreciate that you shared that it takes a team, because even for the most successful people still lean on other people's opinions. The most successful people don't just know everything. And even if you did, how would you have time to spend time with your family if you tried doing everything?
Right.
is kind of the way I always like to look at that. So it's always should you spend 3 hours trying to be your own accountant, or should you pay an actual accountant to do it in 30 minutes so you can go spend 3 hours with your family and things like that. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's really valuable. And just having that conversation with someone that you can trust is so important, because I love golf just like your son-in-law. There's not a single professional golfer in the world that I'm aware of who doesn't have a coach and a caddy. So if they're the best at what they do and they still take outside opinions, why is that?
They're smart.
Right. So it's removing the emotions from it, right? Even
That's
for
right.
me, I ask my business partner for financial advice about my life because I know it's mine. So therefore, I'm more emotionally involved than everyone else's. So thank you for sharing that. Obviously, I'm very excited about the answer, but I promise you, I did not prompt her. That was her answer.
Absolutely.
I did not prompt her in any way. And
This was not rehearsed in any way, shape, or form.
I enjoy and appreciate more now that I know our core values align with identity. So that's awesome. With that, maybe it's similar, maybe it's different, but if you could give one piece of advice to the people who watch this video or your younger self, what would it be? It doesn't have to be financial. It doesn't have to be anything, but general, just when you think of that, what's that one thing that you wish you could either tell your younger self or someone who takes the time to watch or listen to this conversation?
I am not very good at giving other people advice because I think everybody's path is very different. I would talk to my younger self, however, and I would tell her to forgive yourself for your mistakes, and to be brave sooner, to be bold sooner, to just live rather than being afraid of mistakes or what other people think of you.
It's amazing. I love that. Thank you for being candid. I guess I think is a fair word to say there. That was I felt genuine. So thank you very much.
It was.
What is your definition of being successful? Right? Everyone always talks about being successful. So what's your definition?
This is probably the hardest question for me of all the questions today. My success will be when I pass into heaven. That will be my long-term success. My success here on earth is knowing that my children are taken care of, that the people that I surround myself with, or the people that I touch on a regular basis, will come to me if they need anything. I don't think it's about money for me. I'm very much not money driven. I'm very people driven, and I guess taking care of the people around me shows me it's my indicator of success.
I love that. So if I heard you right, one, I appreciate how much you wear your faith on your sleeve. I think it's unfortunately a touchy subject in our society that way too people shy away from how they truly feel because they're worried about being judged. So thank you for being, again, very just genuine with your responses and your thoughtful answers. And if I heard you right, as far as, again, when you're here on earth, are you dependable and in making a positive impact on the people around you?
That's right. My family first.
That's amazing.
And then my community.
Thank you for sharing that. So it's kind of, I should reposition the order that I ask these questions, because I feel like we've just gotten really deep into like who you are as a human and your soul. And now I'm going to ask you, like, go back to a business related question.
Perfect.
But where do you want to see your business grow and go in the next 5 years and moving forward?
My answer to that and my husband's answer to that might be two totally different things.
So we have communication, right? That's
right.
Okay.
So my husband works full-time for MnDOT. And I also have another full-time job.
Okay.
So we often differ on the path of Bird Your Properties LLC. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I am more of a let's pick something and let's do it. And Jonah's more of a, let's see how this plays out for timing.
Mm-hmm.
I recently was looking at a property here in town, had all the wheels in motion. Jonah was on board. Everything was ready to go. Got up the next morning, got a call from our daughter, our real estate agent, and said, "Hey, Mom, the property's sold." And we both kind of went, "Oh, good. That's okay, right?"
Yeah,
It's summer.
Yeah.
we're ready to spend time with our grandkids.
Yeah.
And again, all in timing.
Yep.
So I would say we are actively seeking something.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a flip, it might be a rental. We just don't know what that will look like until the door opens and it presents itself. But we are actively moving forward with trying to grow our rental portfolio.
So you are actively looking to move, but you have very good perspective on just accepting that it'll happen when it's supposed to happen.
Absolutely.
Because when the way you responded, it's almost like you guys were, I don't know if relieved is the right word, but it's almost like, okay, it is what it is.
It wasn't meant to be.
And that's such a valuable lesson. And you didn't share this as a lesson earlier, but I think for myself personally, I won't speak for everyone who watches or listens to this, but the ability to let go of what was never there in the first place, because we set these unrealistic expectations. Like, I'll use a ridiculous example. Yesterday, I went and played golf, played 9 holes, and I was hoping to shoot really well, but I didn't play very well. So you can let that frustrate you, like you thought you might be buying that property, but didn't get it. You didn't actually lose the property. You never actually had it. But we trump up these ideas in our heads of these things that we've already accomplished, and then we feel like we failed, and we didn't fail anything. It just didn't happen, and that's okay.
It's okay.
So I kind of muddled through that, but it's really valuable to set the goal, set the expectation, try to achieve it. But if it doesn't happen, move on. There'll be another one.
There'll be another one, or 2 or 3.
Or a million, right? So whatever it might be, that's really cool. Well, I wish you the best of luck on that, and I hope it works out really well for you. Is there anything about yourself, your business, your life, your anything that we haven't talked about today that you think would be valuable to share with our audience? Or you just like to have a conversation about? I love to conversate. Anyone who knows me knows these things. So I won't keep you here all day, but
Well, first, Drew, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I have had the pleasure to get to know Drew in little bits and pieces over the last 6 to 9 months.
Yep.
I am just so impressed with your thoughtfulness. I'll give some props to your parents, because I think parents oftentimes get left out of the equation. So your mom and dad have done a great job with you.
They're amazing. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I think one of the things that I would say is always do your due diligence. Mm-hmm. Nothing should be rushed into when it comes to real estate, especially, or business decisions. And by due diligence, I mean full research. Like you are checking over the property. If you are unsure of something, you bring someone in. There are so many professionals in this town that are willing to help you go through the paperwork. Don't just sign it. You need to read it. And if you don't understand something, again, there are so many professionals in this town that are willing to go through that paperwork with you, even if it's line by line. Enjoy the process, because you learn something every single time, especially when you're not trying to rush. Mm-hmm. If something's supposed to happen, it'll happen. And if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be, but another opportunity will present itself. I think that about sums it up.
Well, I appreciate that very much. And I also do some real estate. I just got started last year with a partner of mine, so I might be reaching out to lean on you for advice a little bit. And in case anyone else wants to at some point, is there a contact information you're willing to share in case someone has a question, follow-up question, request, anything like that, whether it's because they're inspired by your story or want to learn more about your business and kind of how they can maybe learn to replicate from you?
I am not a professional in any way, shape, or form. I will do my best to help you. You can reach out to me at bernier6@live.com. Most of you know that I am also the owner of Papa Murphy's, or co-owner of Papa Murphy's. You can come on in there, pick up a pizza, say hi, and we can set something up. There are a lot of other very, very talented professional people in the real estate world in this town. And I can hook you up with those people also. If you want my phone number, you can contact Drew, and I will give Drew permission to share that with people.
Sounds good. If they directly reach out, we're not going to just post it up.
I am not going to do that.
So since you did say your email, do you mind clarifying how your last name is spelled? And then it's a number 6, not SIX.
True. It's BERNIER, the number 6 @live.com.
Perfect. So And also, as she said, Pop Murphy's Pizza is fantastic. We have it at the golf course now, and I couldn't be more excited about that partnership. So yes, I thoroughly enjoy the pizza. So you do an amazing job. And I think, as you've outlined today, building business is not just about the bottom line, though that's important. You can't lose money and be a business. As I shared with you, there was plenty of experiences in my 10 years where I don't know that I was being efficient with my business practice, but the connections that you have are just as, if not more important than the bottom line. Is that fair?
That is fact.
Good.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Alison. Again, I just really want to appreciate you, one, for your time, but also your genuine nature of these conversations. I never know what to expect. And like you mentioned, we don't know each other that well. So your willingness to come in and share everything that you shared with us today is genuinely, I really do appreciate that. And I wish you all the best of luck. And I also look forward to getting to know you better moving forward.
Perfect. Thank you for your time, Drew, and congratulations on 10 years.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're
It's
welcome.
gone by fast.
Yes, it has.
So thank you. Have a nice day, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye.